This accident involves Jackie Galindo. My client was operating a Toyota Tundra. She was traveling on 1604 westbound in the Bandera area. When traffic in front of her was coming to a stop, she brought her vehicle was trying to bring her vehicle to a stop when she was rear-ended by a young man driving a Dodge Ram dually. The young man said that the accident was 100% Miss Galindo's fault. His version of how the accident occurred was there's 2 lanes westbound on 1604, that Miss Galindo was in the right lane and that he was traveling in the left lane, that Miss Galindo passed him, cut him off, and then slammed on his brakes. That was the version that the young man told, and as a result of him saying, of his description of how that accident occurred, the defense lawyers put very little value on Miss Galindo's case.
The first offer that was offered to me, I can't exactly pinpoint the amount. I just know that it wasn't something that I was going to settle for. I was determined that there was no way I was going to settle for that amount when Mr. Trevino had sent me a text message saying this is what we're looking at, and I cannot recall my exact response, but I know that it was, I don't think so.
In order to determine what actually and what factually happened, we conducted a significant investigation. We deposed the officers who investigated the accident. We hired an automotive mechanical engineer to investigate the accident.
My husband was already outside of the truck yelling in pain. It took me a little while because I had trouble breathing. My adrenaline kicked in. I didn't know what was going on. I actually went across 1604 to check on the gentleman that was in front of me because I thought I had hit him, but it was actually the guy who hit me had hit him also. And from there, I'm actually being forced to go into the ambulance by the officers because I couldn't comprehend what type of accident I had been in and how hard I had been hit.
As a result of the accident, Ms. Galindo sustained multiple herniated discs in both her cervical spine as well as her lumbar spine. As a result of the injuries, as a result of her neck and low back pain, she underwent approximately 2 years of pain management treatment, which included 7 ESI epidural steroid injections in both her neck as well as in her lumbar spine. The MRIs were positive for herniated discs in her cervical as well as her lumbar spine.
I had to change everything about me. I had to change how I did everything. I had to find different ways of washing clothes, how I loaded, how I bent, how I picked up. When I had to pull clothes out of the washer, the dryer, I'd had to sit on the floor, pull everything out with the basket next to me, then pick it up, then go sit down. I couldn't be bent over for a period of time and just get up like nothing. At times I couldn't use my right arm, so I had to teach my left arm to become more dominant and strengthen it up. I actually had to go back to work financially to help out on my part because I lost thousands of dollars a month on what I brought home. So, the fear of not being able to pay off my cards when I got paid on certain houses. I had a very outstanding record with 8 credit cards, That's how good of the money I was making. And then my husband had to drop his credit cards and other things that he was paying in order to keep us going and surviving. My church, thankfully, has food bank provided there. Being a member, or actually being their cook for 10 years, provided me with food every week if I needed it.
Our expert determined that the Dodge Ram was equipped with an airbag control module, which is very similar to a black box that people hear of, a black box used in airplanes. It retains data after collisions, after impacts, And based upon the airbag module, we were able to determine the speed that the vehicle was traveling, that the Dodge Ram was traveling, and the facts indicated and the airbag module indicated that prior to the accident, 5 seconds prior to the accident, the Dodge Ram was traveling approximately 65 miles per hour. Now, why that fact was important was because at this stretch of 1604, the speed limit is 55 miles per hour. The information contained in there also indicated that at approximately 0.5 seconds before the accident was the first time that the driver of the Dodge Ram actually put his foot on the physical brake, and that the Dodge Ram was traveling at approximately 47 miles per hour at impact. Based on these facts, we were able to determine that the version that the driver of the Dodge Ram was telling the officers and telling his attorneys and wanting everybody to believe was factually inaccurate, and it was physically impossible for his version to be accurate with the data that was collected from the airbag module. With that information, with that data, we were able to establish the liability 100% on the driver of the Dodge Ram and move on to assessing what Ms. Galindo's injuries were.
Mr. Trevino also knew I had financial situation because of this accident that happened, and never ever once disputed helping me.
The insurance company was relying on the version that the defendant told them. They were relying on the fact that it was Ms. Galindo's fault. And once we were able to establish that it was, in fact, the defendant's fault, and that the defendant wasn't paying proper attention and was speeding, was traveling too fast for the conditions on that highway, that facilitated the settlement.
I believe it's fair. You know, there's a lot of things that they had to do. There's a lot of investigating that they had to do, stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own. I don't think I even would have tried to do it on my own because I wouldn't know where to begin. And they have the right to subpoena. They have the right to pull what they want to pull, what they need to pull, what they need for the investigations, for proof, as in an individual themselves might not have that right. Because we're nobody. You know, we don't have the records or the authorities to pull anything. I'm sorry, but I just got a sharp pain. No, it's my nerve. My husband has the cream in the car. Do you need me to start over?
No. That was
Okay.
important.
No, I actually got a new medication that it's a lidocaine, prilocaine prescribed, and these nerves get really, really bad when it's a certain position that I put my head, like when, you know, talking like this, it starts to burn, and the cream just kills the nerves. Like, yes, so I just haven't gotten into the habit of how to place my head when I'm in a conversation, that I can be relaxed and not so, you know, tensed up. Yeah.
After conservative treatment failed Ms. Galindo, she was recommended to have both a cervical and lumbar surgery. She had both. She actually had 2 cervical fusions and 1 lumbar disc surgery. To date, her total medical are over $400,000. She is still in daily discomfort, has limitations placed upon her. Even after the surgeries, she's limited as to what she can do with her cervical and lumbar spine. She's limited to the amount of weight she can lift. She's limited with the range of motion that she can move her head both to the left and to the right, and up and down. And keep in mind, the insurance carrier offered her $20,000 when this case initiated. My client's damages go beyond the repair of the vehicle. It goes beyond the past medical bills. I have to take into consideration the effect that these injuries are going to have on my clients for the rest of their lives, not just up until the date of the settlement. So in cases like this, what I do is I hire an expert, board-certified life care planner. And what that life care planner's purpose is, and what he does is he provides a physical examination to my client, like he did in this case to Miss Galindo. He looks at all of the medical records. He looks at the timeline of the treatment from the date of the accident up until the date of his appointment, and he determines, well, first what he does is he makes a diagnosis and determines the extent of the injuries as it relates to the accident, and then he determines what medical treatment those injuries are going to need, not from the time of the accident till the date of the settlement, but for the rest of my client's life. As in this case, we retained a board-certified pain management doctor who is also a life care planner, and what he did was he examined Miss Galindo, a physical examination of Miss Galindo, examined all of her medical records, examined the timeline from the time of the accident to the time of his physical examination, and created a report. And what that report does is it draws out what her medical necessities are going to be for the rest of her life. And based upon that report, it was determined that Miss Galindo's medical needs in the future were going to exceed $500,000. Unfortunately, accidents like these have a significant impact on people's lives. Not just the property damage or place in the vehicle, not just the medical bills incurred up till the time of settlement, not just the medical bills that will be incurred in the future. Additionally, it affects one's ability to work. It affects one's ability to earn income.
So the check I have received today will actually be used to buy the stuff that I have lost in the accident, to pay off debt that I've incurred because of the accident, to put away in case I can't afford to make my co-payments later. As far as right now, I still have a whole year to heal. I don't know how I'm gonna end up. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go back to the same type of job I used to do. So this is money I'm gonna have to put away, and put it away wisely.
What we do in that instance is we hire a vocational expert. The vocational expert will do a physical examination of the client and review her medical records and determine if any vocational limitations should be placed. And what that means is the expert will determine whether or not the plaintiff can work and to what extent they can work and what limitations they'll have on their working abilities. We take that report, we take the vocational expert's report, and we give it to our economic expert. And what he does is he says, okay, now that we know what those limitations are, he places a number on those limitations so that we make sure that our client is compensated not just for the medical expenses incurred in the past, not just for the medical expenses that will be incurred in the future, and not just for the pain and suffering incurred in the past, not just for the pain and suffering that's going to be incurred in the future, but also for the lost income and also for the lost earning capacity that that individual will sustain in the future. I'm unable to put Miss Galindo back in the same physical condition she was before the accident. The doctors did their best they could to treat the injuries sustained in the accident. She's going to have a lifetime of discomfort and pain as a result of the injuries sustained. My job is to seek maximum compensation for Miss Galindo. I can't put her back physically in the condition she was, but what I can do is seek compensation for the injuries sustained. So we've been battling the insurance carrier for approximately 3 years now on Miss Galindo's case. And as a result of the work done and as a result of the injuries Miss Galindo sustained, we were able to resolve the case for $1.25 million. In the end, we were able to retrieve a settlement in the amount of $1.25 million in favor of Miss Galindo. After attorney's fees and expenses, Miss Galindo received over $660,000. I
do recommend Trevino Injury Law to anyone needing and searching for an attorney that has been in an accident. He's comforting. He's always there for you. If there's answers that you need him to answer and he doesn't have, he will find the answers for you. and he does respond as soon as he can.
Trevino Injury Law accepts clients based on a contingency fee basis, which means the client pays us nothing out of pocket. We incur all the expenses, we pay for all litigation, we pay for hiring all the experts, we incur all the risks. And if the case loses, we get paid nothing and we eat whatever is invested in the case. However, when the case settles, we get paid a percentage of what we collect from the insurance company. This allows individuals with limited resources to battle insurance companies with unlimited resources. I hope you never need a personal injury attorney, but if you do, Trevino Injury Law is here for you. You can contact us at 255-3088.